Hello everyone, this is the video series about real estate. So every week I interview one of the specialists around real estate. And every week we deliver one video to you guys so you will be familiar with different aspects of real estate and you understand why when we recommend you to do something, you know the reason. This is Dylan Dolati with D Group affiliated with Keller Williams Preferred Realty, and every week I bring a specialist to the video to interview with him or her, and this interview is with Neil Kinney, the inspector from Axiom Inspection Company. And I'm gonna have him to introduce himself, and then after that I'm gonna go through a series of questions that these questions actually are asked by you guys, my wonderful clients. And after watching this video, if you have any other question, you can email me dylan@kw.com, or you can text me on my cell phone. But do not call me with a question because after a while I may forget. So it's better to text or email your question, and on the next interview, either with Neil or someone else, another inspector, I bring it up and then you get your answers. Okay? So with this, by the way, let me to do full disclosure that I don't have any financial interest or affiliation with Axiom Inspection Company or with Neil Kinney. This is purely to help you guys to understand what's going on in the world of real estate so you can make a better decision. With this short introduction, so let's go with Neil. Neil, please go ahead, introduce yourself, and I go through the questions.
Well, thank you for having me today. We love the opportunity to come out and talk to your
Thank you
buyers,
for
your
coming.
sellers. You're very welcome. So my name is Neil Kinney. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Axiom Inspections, headquartered here in Denver, Colorado. We are the largest, most reviewed and referred home inspection company in the state of Colorado, and it's just a pleasure to be here with you this morning.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So Neil, let's start with the inspection. What is an inspection? When you do inspection, what do you do? What do you inspect?
Yeah, excellent question. So a home inspection is a visual, non-invasive evaluation of the home's general condition. We're going to look at just about every major system in the home, as long as it's not a majorly specialized system. So your roof, your interior, exterior, your doors, your windows, your HVAC, your cooling, your plumbing, electrical, all of those systems are going to be evaluated throughout the course of your home inspection. And there are two services which aren't technically in the scope of a standard residential home inspection that we highly recommend be performed as well, and that's a sewer scope, which is essentially evaluation of the interior of your sewer lines, and a radon test. The radon test specifically, Colorado falls in a Zone 1 state, which means the natural levels of radon, typically speaking in the state, are going to be above what the EPA considers healthy levels. So both of those are highly recommended as well.
All right, and actually that's very good that you mentioned, because many people when they do inspection they ask if they should do radon and sewer or not. And my recommendation actually is to do it because yes, you pay a little bit more money, but that extra money goes long way, because you will find out about the sewer system, about the pipes, about radon, because radon is cancerogen.
Correct.
And by the way, my background is in medicine, so I can talk about this. And it's very important to do it. Thank you for bringing this up.
Absolutely.
Some of my clients in the past, they have asked why they should do inspection. And some clients, they think, well, they saw the house, they like it, everything looks good, so why they should pay for the inspection? And now we have the specialist to explain to us why you should order the inspection. So go ahead, please, Neil, explain it to our clients to see why they should, or in some cases actually they must because sometimes it's mandated by the lender also.
Sure. So whether we're in a buyer's market or a seller's market, the inspection is going to give you additional leverage to use in your negotiations with the sellers. A lot of the items that are going to come up on a home inspection report could be pretty high dollar items. So I, as a buyer, would much prefer going into that transaction understanding the full cost of ownership of the home before I ever take possession of it. So the more knowledge you have going into the transaction in terms of systems or items in the home that may need routine maintenance or there may be more significant issues, it's going to put you in a more advantageous position having that home inspection report going into that transaction.
Right. For example, if there is something wrong with the foundation, that's going to be a huge cost.
Potentially.
Or maybe someone actually can lose the house because of the foundation problem. Or the roof, which is expensive, or like the plumbing.
Yep. A lot of major systems can have large price tags associated with repairs. So you mentioned foundations. That can be an extremely pricey repair if there's something structural found defective with that foundation. Same thing with the roof. And you also mentioned plumbing. Anytime you have moisture intrusion in a home, that's one of the primary items that our inspectors are looking for is moisture intrusion. Moisture is supposed to be on a couple places inside and outside the home. That's on the roof and inside the pipes typically. If you find it anywhere outside of those areas, you definitely want to evaluate that further. And again, there could be a significant cost associated with that. So having that information going into the transaction puts you in a much stronger position when it comes to leverage and negotiating.
Very good. Thank you so much for explaining that. So now you have a better understanding why you should, or actually I recommend it all the time to do the inspection. I never ever ever recommend to any buyer to waive the inspection. Even in really hot market, it's better to do the inspection. Even if you are a cash buyer, it's better to do the inspection because you buy your property with peace of mind. All right, so about the timing, when the inspection should be done. Well, it can be two ways because we have buyers that do inspection and the majority or all of buyers, I recommend to do inspection. How about the seller also? So when the inspection should be done based on these two point of views?
Sure. So let's take the sellers first. The sooner you can get the inspection performed, the better. And that recommendation comes from a couple different sources. Number one, you want to give yourself enough time once you get your home inspection report back to make any repairs or perform any routine maintenance items without being under the gun in terms of a contractual deadline. So it's very, very important you give yourself enough time to contact contractors, accept multiple bids for the work. The pricing for work from different contractors can vary wildly. So the more bids you can get, the better of a decision you can make as a consumer to give yourself not only enough time, but to hopefully save you money, and that will allow you on the pre-listing side to choose your contractor and your pricing and do it under your terms, not under the terms of a buyer. On the other side of that, the pre-purchase inspection, typically performed by a buyer, again, the recommendation is going to be perform that as soon as you can, not only for yourself, but giving your sellers enough time to perform any maintenance tasks or any upkeep that you're requesting during that negotiation. So the sooner you can get those items taken care of, the better, and without having to worry about extending contracts and redoing a bunch of paperwork. There's also costs associated with all of that as well.
Right. So regarding the buyers, actually, I recommend it to do it as soon as possible because when you find out about the property you're purchasing, the sooner the better because you can make your decision as soon as possible. Some buyers, they don't understand and they're like, okay, let's postpone it for the end of the timing for with the contract. I do not recommend that. I recommend actually to do it as soon as possible so you can find out and you can make a better and informed decision about the property you're buying. So some buyers actually, they ask because the commission is mostly paid by the seller and they think the inspection should be paid by the seller also. Who pays for the inspection?
So it's going to depend on which type of inspection we're talking about. If it's a pre-listing inspection, typically the seller or the homeowner is going to foot the cost for the inspection at that point in time. On a pre-purchase inspection, normally the buyer is responsible for that cost.
Right, right. So if it's pre-listing, before even you list your house and you put it on the market, you do inspection. So you, as a seller, you are responsible for the fee. However, when you put your house on the market and the buyer is ordering the inspection, the buyer is responsible for the fee. So if you can tell us how much do you charge, or Axiom charge, or other companies, and how does it calculate it, based on what?
Sure. So there's a couple main drivers, and every different provider is going to have a different pricing architecture. So I can share ours, and it's fairly common in the industry. The primary driver behind your home inspection price is typically going to be the total square footage of the home, so basically the size of the house. Aside from that, or beyond that, some providers will add on costs for the age of the home. The older the home gets, typically it's going to take a little bit longer to get through that evaluation, and then also the geography, so the distance. So where's the home located? If you have a home that's located in a mountain property, it's typically going to take a little bit longer to get there, but primarily we're looking at the size of the home as the primary driver behind that.
Okay, so there is no like a flat fee or like a fixed fee.
Sure.
It's based on the size of the house, or?
Yeah, typically. So some providers will do a flat fee. It obviously is going to take a lot longer to get through a 6,000 or 7,000 square foot home than it would be to get through a 700 or 800 square foot condo. Some providers will do flat rates, but typically just the size is going to be the primary driver behind the cost.
Okay, very good. So regarding timing on the contract, you as a buyer and you as a seller also, you have to go through the contract and make sure that you are in close contact with your agent, and make sure everything goes through the timing. Because if it's past the timing, for example, if you are a buyer and you do not do the inspection because you're either you're not sure that you want an inspection or not, or you want to postpone it, it's very important to do it during that time, that allowed time. Otherwise, later on, if there is something wrong with the inspection, you cannot go back and say, oh, okay, I don't like this house, or I don't want it because of such and such on the inspection. You cannot go back. So that was one thing that I just remembered, to go back to the timing. And one more thing, that regarding the items, because on the report is pretty much extensive, and there are a lot of details on it. So what is important for the buyer to pay attention, besides like foundation and the roof? What else are the major? Because like the minor things can be repaired easily, and those probably are not like a deal breaker, right?
Yep. So one of the things that we do is we rely very heavily on the real estate agents to guide our mutual clients through that process. So a home inspector, if they're doing their job properly, should be calling out objectively the defects according to whichever standard operating procedure they're working under. All of our inspectors are InterNACHI certified. It's a national certification. It's one of the two largest certification organizations in the country. And every different buyer is going to be a little bit different in terms of what they're more concerned with. Mm-hmm. So obviously you have the major structural issues, major plumbing issues, major electrical issues, roof, those high dollar items, or those potentially high dollar items. And then you get, on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to get more into the cosmetic items, paint chips, drywall, things like that. Really, it's the real estate agent that we lean on very heavily to guide our mutual client through that process. And it also is going to depend on what type of market we're in. If we're in a buyer's market, right, they may be able to ask for more repairs or more items. If we're in a seller's market, which we're just coming out of, or it seems like we're just coming out of, the likelihood that seller is going to agree to a laundry list of items to repair is much, much lower. But really, it's the buyer. It's what they feel comfortable with. Some folks are a little handier than others. they can handle the drywall, the paint, and the more cosmetic items. But not everybody's a plumber, an electrician, a roofer, and on down the list. So they're going to have to lean on some other folks to help with those repairs. So again, we lean very heavily on folks like you to guide our mutual clients through that process and help them navigate, what to ask for during the negotiation and what they may want to park until after they own the home.
Right. So basically, when you get the report from the inspector, that report is about a general inspection. So, for example, if there is something wrong with the roof, you have to call a roofer to inspect it and give you their idea. Or with foundation, we have to call for example, civil engineer to come and take a look and give us the report to see if it's like a big damage that is a deal breaker, or this is something that can be repaired or something like that. So basically your report is general, and then you recommend, based on what you see, you recommend who else should inspect, for example, the roof or plumbing or electrical or other things, right?
Yep, and I'm really glad you brought that up. That's a great point for everyone to understand. So a home inspector, typically speaking, is a generalist. It's very rare to find a home inspector that's an electrician, also a plumber, also a roofer, also a structural engineer, all those different items. Now, it's not uncommon for home inspectors to come from one of those industries and have a specific knowledge base on, say, your electrical system. However, generally speaking, they're going to be calling out general defects and then refer you over to a specialist should a more detailed or more technically exhaustive evaluation be required for that individual system.
Yes, exactly. Like medicine. In medicine, when you're sick, you go to your general practitioner or family practitioner, and then he or she can refer you to a specialist, for example, to a cardiologist or brain doctor or GI doctor. So this is how it works.
That's a wonderful way to put it.
All right, very good. So one more question about sellers, because many sellers, they're like, I'm going to sell my home as is, or whoever want to buy it and such and such. Why it's important for sellers to do a pre-listing inspection?
Yeah, and I wish more real estate professionals would advocate for that type of inspection, because it does have a ton of value that it can provide to the sellers. We already touched on this topic briefly, but I think it's important to highlight it. If you are getting a pre-listing inspection, first of all, when you put your home on the market, you're competing with every other home in your area in that price range that's on the market. So having that home in tip-top shape and having some maintenance items and repair items performed before ever putting that home on the market sets your house head and shoulders above your competition. So speed to market or speed to sale likely will be much quicker. The buyers are going to get an inspection most likely, and whatever they're going to uncover in that inspection, I'd prefer to have a heads up on that and be able to get ahead of that and have any, those major repairs done before ever putting that home on the market. So the first time those buyers see that home, it's already in immaculate shape.
Yes, exactly. And by the way, the real estate agent can or may advertise for that also, that, excuse me, this house has been inspected. And for the sellers, for our wonderful sellers, because many of them, they resist. When we recommend it, they resist. But as Neil explained it, it's very important, and it can save you a lot of money, because when the buyer do inspection and something comes up, they may ask for a lot of money or price reduction, or maybe a deal breaker. So it's good actually for sellers to do it also. I recommend actually the homeowners, even if you don't sell your home, do the inspection every maybe 5 years or something like that, to see if there is something wrong with your house. Because when you maintain your house and you keep it clean and neat and up to date, when you sell it, it's much easier, and with much less cost to sell their house.
Yeah, routine maintenance typically costs less than repairs are going to cost.
Exactly.
In addition to that, to kind of piggyback on what you were just saying, it's not uncommon for us to go out and perform a pre-listing inspection, turn that report over to the homeowners. The homeowners then take that, make any repairs, any major repairs or routine maintenance items that are recommended, and then we will go back out and re-inspect that property, assuming all those repairs were done up to specification, produce a second report, which is essentially a clean home inspection report, and then the sellers can actually present that to potential buyers before they ever go under contract, so the buyers have a larger peace of mind that, hey, this home is very well maintained. All the major items that my home inspector would be evaluating are already touched on in here, and they have photographic documentation of the condition of the home before they ever sign on the dotted line.
All right, yeah. It's exactly like healthcare. When you maintain your health and you go routinely, like annually, to your family practitioner and do some screening tests, you can find out about if there's something wrong with your body. You can find out early, and you don't need to go through like very expensive testing and very expensive procedures like surgery, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same with house also. So the way you take care of your health, and I hope you do well on that, take care of your home. Anything else that you can recommend to our clients?
The biggest recommendation is just working with a qualified real estate professional to help guide you through the entire process. Oftentimes, they're going to have worked with a number of different providers in your particular area, your particular market, and be able to provide some really good, solid recommendations on who to use. Do your own research also. Check online reviews. The more time goes on, most companies now are going to have a fairly significant or robust online presence, and you can get an objective point of view from folks that have used those providers in the past. So work with a very qualified real estate professional and just make the best decision that's best for your personal situation and your time frame.
Very good. Thank you so much. And I hope you guys as buyer or seller, now you have better understanding and you make an informed decision about the property you're selling or the property you're buying. If you have any more questions, please go ahead and contact me through email, dylan@kw.com, or text me on my cell phone. You have my cell phone, it's on my website and everywhere. So you can text me also your question or email, whatever you prefer. Thank you so much for watching. If you think this video is valuable to you and someone else, please go ahead and share it with your family members, your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors, whoever you think they need some information on this topic. Thank you so much for watching and see you on the next video. As I said, every week I'm gonna have a specialist in different field related to real estate, and I interview them and give you the information you need. Thank you and have a great time.